Hello. Hi, hi. Stepping.
Are you there?
Yes, stepping, stepping.
Good evening.
Good
Good to
evening.
have you online.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so if you're out there, this is Rotimi Eyitayo and Rhoda, and it's good to have you all on board tonight. Uh, just a second. Are you set?
Not we want to just like give some to get to top of the hour, right?
Okay, so do we have?
I want to sign in on my laptop as well. So let me see if I can get that going. Or let me see if I can sign in with my let's see. Let me try to invite people. Let me get my Facebook here to see if I can invite people from here, and then we can hope to get in on. We can definitely try to get in on Instagram as well.
Okay, checking for connection.
Yep. Let's check you out so that I can see like comments that are coming through, and yeah.
So, while we're waiting to see comments from people, I think Titi already is online.
Titi, welcome. We're trying to make sure that we prep and begin at the top of the hour.
Can you see my Instagram?
Okay, you started on Instagram. So I'm going to open Instagram so I can see what I can see. I'm trying to open two devices.
Hello, Ruth. How are you?
One
Ruth Inspire. Been a while.
who?
That's a friend of mine on Instagram.
Oh, good. Nancy is here as well. You guys,
Ronke
I'm using
Push.
multiple devices. I'm using, hi, Ronke. I'm using multiple devices, so I want to make sure that I'm seeing as many people. So, Rotimi, have you, Larry, you too. Welcome. I can see people already on. Uh, Let me get on
Okay.
Instagram.
You said what? I didn't get that clearly.
Let me get on Instagram.
Okay. That's
I'm
fine.
seeing half of your face on Instagram.
You said?
I'm seeing half of your face on Instagram. So there's multiple devices open. I'm wondering if it's going to be if it's going to affect the voice, the sound. So I wonder where I can mute. I have a ton of devices open here. It's crazy. At the same time, because I just also want to be able to see
Tomilola, we attacked her yesterday. She's now back.
on
Okay,
Instagram.
great to have you guys.
Let me share this. I want to share.
We have Shay, Anifo Shay. We have Larry Yusuf. Happy birthday. We need our E Jollof. We are applying social distancing.
Our Ijolov. Yeah, at the top of the hour. I'm trying to share this. Okay, share it on my page. Hi everyone. So many devices. I'm sure that's the interruption. I'm trying to see which one I can mute. Oh my god.
I'm sure you can see my full face now.
On IGS. And I think it's Instagram. Instagram is getting the echoes.
So probably maybe you should reduce the volume on
Nah,
Instagram.
I think it's just like, it's just too many devices. I don't know how.
Fisayo, how are you?
Apologies.
I think I'm
The
saying
echoes.
Leith, how are you?
I'm sorry. If you can hear the sounds, please let me know so that I can definitely have squeeze one. Like, can't have too many on. Terrible.
So, um,
Odetola is Israel is here. Instagram is suffering from this. I'm sorry, guys. I may just have to leave Instagram, and I don't think it's working.
hello.
I think we're good.
Is it better now?
Yeah, I was just trying to find a post, but Instagram is like there's this echo. This I can hear it on Instagram. I can hear it.
Hello.
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me? There's the echo on Instagram that is. Can you hear me?
Um, no.
Right. Sorry about that, guys. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay. Um, sorry, Instagram. I gotta go. I hear that interruption. Instagram is not working. Okay. Feel okay. Yes, so that we can hear you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. I think it's now time. Really, we just need to begin. But I have to go off of Instagram because it's just too much interruption here. So apologies about that. Actually, the web we're supposed to have this session is on Facebook. This is why we didn't make any promises on Instagram. So apologies for that. So to me, apologies. We just have to leave here because the interruption is just too much. I'm way too many devices here. Hi, Facebook. Joining you soon.
Hello. Okay. So, good evening, everyone. This is Rotimi Eyitayo, and I'm joined On Facebook and Instagram, I am with Rhoda Odigboh, the great Rhoda, and we're going to have a very wonderful session tonight. And I'm sure if you can see the screen, we're talking about uh, something that I'll allow Rhoda to do the introduction. But just to welcome everyone, if you're on Facebook, I'd like to welcome you to this session. I'd like to also thank all those who've joined us on Instagram as well. And I believe that we're going to have a very nice time. We're going to be talking and we're going to be sharing as well. So, over to Rhoda for the introduction, and then we'll continue from there. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. This really has been sort of like a long time coming, something that we want to ensure that we as educators are in the right space, in the right frame, in the right mindset to do the things that we are actually designed, created, and gifted to do. So basically, it's all about conversation. So when we tagged it hard talk education, it's more about us wanting to share our deep thoughts. So hard talk education is all about conversations in education, but mostly focused on those difficult ones, those difficult conversations that people usually want to run away from. Also, conversations that we want to make sure that we're sharing like real talk, honor, no sugarcoating, something that will just make all of us kind of like something that will make us think back and say, are we doing all there is for us to do to help push our agenda forward? Because as educators, we owe the children that we serve a lot of changes, and we owe them the truth. We owe them, the honest planning and development required for us to deliver on quality education. And what I would like to point out, this conversation is going to be more of um, something that should really inspire us to want to do more. And it's not to say that we don't understand what differences there are. It's not to say that, and definitely trying to make sure that we communicate everything that we want to from an honest place, from the depth of our hearts, with a clear conviction and cognizance that there are difficulties that we all face. So that's what the hard talk is basically all about. So this topic of our beginning topic is basically all from us thinking about um, the idea of going back to school and resuming school. So we're looking at resuming school from the point of view of why we are doing that, and even asking us the very very important question of do we know why we want? Are we really prepared really to resume school? Are we prepared? I think that's more of the bigger question right there, lurking deep inside that question: why are you resuming school? Right? Because we know that it's impossible for anyone to stop us from resuming school as we know for now. May not always be impossible from a national perspective because things can change. And as we are seeing, we are in an education emergency. And so what we're looking at is we're all like in a space where we're trying to determine what is our next step. And we're trying to determine our next step from a point of view of very minimal, in some cases, understanding, skill sets to launch into where we're going. And in other cases, a lot of fears, confusion, financial commitments, cost implications, etc. Okay, so our basic question today is like, how are we planning this systemic transition that we are definitely be forced into? And so, what are we even doing to understand what we're doing? So let me take bring talk about from introduce again, from his own perspective what we want to do today.
Okay, thank you, Rhoda. That's a beautiful one. As with new things, I believe that it's always important that we set the rudiments right. The foundation is very important. And this is hard talk. And one of the things that we need to have more often within our sphere is conversations that are straight from the heart, conversations that is not actually tied or bound by fear or favor. It's something that we need to just, not necessarily with the facade of the concept of breaking tables, but our ability to begin to pinpoint things that are pressing, and that we need to remember that every sector and every industry, and of course the businesses or organizations within the industries put together with the practitioners in the industries, must have something like a watchdog, that like a watchword. We cannot sit down with so many resource in between people's head, so many exposure, so many information, and everybody's just sitting still as if they are helpless and there's nothing that can be done. And sometimes that thing is quite frustrating for those who are privileged to have passion and knowledge and skill or and relationships. And we must, as Africans, especially as Nigerians, understand that this is a very privileged hour to speak to the things happening and to also speak to the things that are to come. And so while we might be doing our regular conversations online, our programs online, while we might be going almost about our regular business, which is no longer regular due to the times we are in, I believe that we need to brace up and begin to speak some hard truths. We need to speak truth to power. We need to speak truth to people. We need to speak truth about processes as well. And when this concept of hard talk education came in, you don't need to think twice when you see the word hard talk. Hard talk already describes what you are to expect, describes what you are going to experience, also describes what we are all about. And so we're not necessarily going to mock about. It's not so much of dress up, put on your cape, superhero to the rescue. It is actually asking questions and hoping that those who come online are not just like minds who are liking what we are saying from our minds, but they are like minds who put from their minds things that should come on the fore. Because as a sector, it seems as if there's no visible voice charting the way to say, here is the blueprint, here's the roadmap of the days ahead, the weeks ahead, the months ahead, and of course, the years ahead. If we don't do anything, trust me, we fail the children. And we need to say it as it is. We are not just talking about doing something for ourselves. And, self preservation is not complete if it doesn't go beyond today. You understand? Because we're not preserving ourselves. A lot of people are spending resource, throwing money at the problems, and guess what? They are not even near the surface to a solution. And nobody's bold enough or humble enough to begin to ask questions. So I, as a person, I need to ask questions. I need to know what exactly is going on. How do we have so many powerhouses, so many power voices, so many power writers, but yet we have so little collective solutions? And this is the situation that is making us say, you know what, if we have to rant, if there's any acceptance in ranting, then let's rant with content. Let's rant with context. And one of the ways we can do it is simply say, you know what, if we can't say that we are people who know, and nobody's assuming as someone who knows, but I believe one of the best way to find answers, especially for the education sector, is to start asking questions. But then not just asking questions, asking the right questions. Not just asking the right questions, asking the right people the right question. Not just asking the right people the right questions, but carving the questions for the right people to start asking other people the right questions as well. Because we cannot be voiceless. Education is so sensitive. It's something that I think really that sets the ball rolling. Really, that's what we're all about. We're going to be saying things. I'm sure a lot of people who like gossip or who like bad things or bad news might be excited that there's something called hard talk. But really, it's not a sensationalism approach to these things. This is talking about solutions. So that's what we are here for. And as frequent as it can come, I believe we'll take advantage of any time we have the opportunity to share. I mean, think about it. Loads of people online that are connected with us tonight. That is so much of, we are all glued to CNN. We are all glued to channels. We are all glued to broadcast messages. And when I say all, I'm not saying all in entirety, because I know some people might quickly jump at it and say, Mr. Eyitayo, how can you say all? We are so quick to say what is not totally correct. But is there no message of truth behind it? Everybody is listening to one kind of news or the other. So the fact that you stop listening to news doesn't mean others are not listening. But what I'm trying to say is this: where is our own news? If everybody's talking about it, I expect for the past 3 weeks, every day we are coming out of situation room saying that this is it, this is what is projected, so that we help other people's reality. We cannot always boast of fast trackness or fast track educators or foresightedness by the privilege of some organogram or privilege of some foresight from a leader of an organization. It's not always going to be an equilibrium. And a
Right.
sector will understand that, and I've done this teaching before, and I think it's high time I bring it back as well, that we need to understand what really a sector is. A sector is incomplete when you're not, a business does not make a sector. It doesn't. And so a template or a prototype of success does not make a sector. When we talk about sectorial approach, you have to also understand the economies of industry, economies of scales must be into it. And education is pretty much wired that same way. And so we're talking about certain things, and everybody's still going back to the concept, forgetting the fact that the best of us is still one of us, number one. Number two, the best of even education today is still tilted in one side. And the reason why we're all shouting and worried is because, and I hope I have answers tonight, because I have questions. Rhoda, I'm going to ask you questions. I'm going to ask our
Right.
audience questions. So this is not just it's not a soap opera that you listen to some people and you're enjoying the cocktail of conversation. We will ask questions. So we'll call you out. We'll ask Dr. Tomilola. She's an educator. She's a consultant. She's a psychologist. She's a doctor. She's in the UK. We're going to ask her questions. We're going to ask Isaiah. Isaiah all the way from Ilori, connected with us. We're going to ask her questions. We're going to ask Sheyi, Oluwaseyi Anifo. He's old in Cyprus. He's a passionate person about teacher development. We will ask him questions. Of course, Ronke Posha has nowhere to hide. I will ask her question, and I trust Ronke Posha will ask questions as well. We have so many people. And if we can have all this, why is it that in education, we are the ones known to reject our best, to refuse our best, and sometimes to ignore our best? And we cannot get the best if we continue to have that kind of culture. And that's why we're talking tonight. Of course, yes, we are bound by a topic, but we are not bound to the topic. So the topic just shapes our conversation. But the truth is, what has to be said has to be said. I might not be your friend during this conversation. I mean, I'm talking to the entire world. I don't know who is listening. But after the conversation, please, I'm still Rotimi Eyitayo. You can still talk to me, But the truth about it is that it's hard talk, man. It is hard talk,
Definitely.
and we talk hard, basically.
Yeah. Let me jump in right there. So let me
Yeah, I
jump in
can.
right. Right. So, that was such a splendid, introduction to what we are all about here. So let's even just get to it directly. Like, okay, what we've come to Sunday, and tomorrow is ideally the beginning of third term, right? Um, Across both, a lot of educators, school owners on their own, struggling and scrambling for solutions on how to solve, their own uh, emergency education through the eye of remote learning for some people, through the eyes or the lens of online learning for some people. Those two concepts are actually different. Remote learning being an umbrella for online learning and other things. We can always go back to set research on that. But the point is that, are you ready? Are we ready? Now let's even think of it from the point of view of a national perspective. Because you see, everything you do, everything you and I do, is hinged on what the country decides we are capable of doing. Now we're going to get to a point where in this emergency situation, schools are scrambling for, I'm in many platforms where school owners, teachers are asking, school owners and parents are on different divides. Am I going to be able to pay? Are they telling me to pay school fees? I'm not paying. I'm done. I'm now the surrogate teacher and things like that, and all of those things. Those are even at the smaller unit levels. What about what if the country, Nigeria, decides to say, you know what, we're going to have a new calendar for a new year. Now you decided you started your third term, and then the country says, you know what, scrap third term for the year. Meanwhile, you have gone way into your third term. You're already probably gone 4, 5, 6 weeks into your online teaching, and then a country comes up and says, you know what, everybody, we're recessing the year, right? And that and possibly because they're not capable of finding a solution to what might be the version of remote learning in our federal schools or in our government school, in our state schools, right? And then there are because if we don't know the why of something, right? Let me put it this way: the why of something is my mentor that said it. The why of something is what qualifies or determines the how. Now you want to resume. How many of you have asked the critical questions? I have a ton of questions for you, all of you who are ready to resume school. And by the way, as I'm asking this question, I'm not asking you alone. I am pointing the finger at myself. So I'm asking myself, who is also in education and an admin and also an administrator, a school leader, and I serve as leadership of a couple of schools, a network of schools. And I'm asking myself questions. We've collected all the data, right? In our own case, we did all we could to collect data. And guess what? Our SMS penetration is not as 100%. Our WhatsApp penetration, you can believe it, of course, is also not at 100% because many assumptions are made. So many assumptions. You assume that if someone has a Palasa phone, that you're going to be able to create the content for SMS learning. You also assume that if someone has a what's called a smartphone, that they have data. On it, they have data, that they have the apps that will enable what's it called? Uh, PDF downloads and all of that. And with all of that, you also assume that if because they all have the tech and all of tech devices, how many devices can they have for the 3 children or 4 children that they have at home? Many assumptions being made here. And even when you collect that data and you're not at 100%, what happens to the children that are not there? And this thing is going to become the problem. Because at the very minimum, where most people happen, where the government from the government perspective, I've seen things like, putting Google Classroom on, putting children on a platform for the federal government schools and the secondary schools, and all the university colleges now have a platform where they can, a virtual learning platform. Many assumptions. There's radio, there's TV, many assumptions. Is there lights, right? And all of that. So we want to really ask you, how ready are you? How ready are you to resume? Because we need to begin to ask these important questions to policymakers. Now, how come it's all about asking the policy, asking the hard questions to whoever needs to know it, and collectively collecting the questions from you and I, what needs to go forward to who needs to help us solve the problem. Because we've often talked about power and how power. I'm not the kind of educator who thinks about education from only the classroom perspective, because everything we do, everything that happens in the country affects classroom. If there's no power, for example, you can't really teach effectively using 21st century standards, right? So a simple thing like where is light? A simple question like where is light? Is there light? Is a problem for you, because as much as you want to do your remote learning, you can't make an assumption that there is power to charge the phone, even the Falata phone, right? So there's the national perspective, there's the state perspective, there's the local government perspective. How many of you have heard any local government chairman say anything? And it's not okay for us to continue to keep quiet and stay still without coming together and say something, because the more we stay on that road, more dangerous it gets, because no one is questioning, no one is asking. Like, so hard talk is for us to tell ourselves the truth. Even for us that are finding people like us are finding solutions for ourselves. How ready are we? So that is the question. How ready are you that you're resuming? How ready are you? Do you have questions? Like I saying national perspective, state perspective, local government perspective, sector perspective, TRCN. At this time, is when the TRCNs of this world come together to say, how do we upskill teachers to get them to the point where they need to be in emergency situations? These things will continue to happen. If we don't have a calendar reset, if we don't have a calendar reset, where are we going? How are we going to start? What if that would is so much to ask? Even like so, for example, we have things for you that we can share. I have a lot of freebies I can share. Yes, they're there. Models for your learning, for your remote learning action plan, things that you can work with. But can you do it? Those are the questions. Can you do? Are you ready? Do you have all your parents? Do you have all the data you need? Do you know how many parents can afford to be online for children? Do you plan to ensure that all the children, who are going to be lost in this are carried along? Are you asking your stakeholders questions, right? Even all of us serving as the group of people who serve as support services, people who like give out, who are like consultants doing training and all of that. They even that is not it's not the simplest thing to do because some questions come at you, and at some point you ask yourself, you know what, I don't have all the solutions, but I'm willing to be flexible, or you should be willing to be flexible. Let me pass it over
Oh,
to me to continue.
yeah, that's a very good way to start. Before we sound like just a bunch of frustrated individuals, we need to realize that we need to say what we are saying. And there's nobody that is going to use the eye of a perfectionist to judge or to rate this because this has never happened before. And but then this is time where we all need to set clear our perspectives and our objectives. And the truth about it is having to start with the fact that why why are we resuming? Are you able to answer that? Why are you resuming that? The first thing that comes to most people's mind is how dare you? Why are you asking that question? The point is this, especially with a sector like education, with a sphere like education, with industries like schools that we have, answers must be made. Why? Because schools do not exist in their own on their own. And it's also not because we are trying to caution or condition people from working. This is not to say that don't resume tomorrow, 20th April 2020. This doesn't
That's
have
right.
anything to do with that. It's just the culture of starting with the obvious and then moving around the most important things. The fact is, we need to be accountable in the education sphere. So if you say that you have a school or you run a school or you are a school practitioner, please understand, everyone must be able to recognize that it's a question we all must answer. Everyone must be able to realize that, listen, it is not, the way we always misinterpret things, right? When we say, for example, where are you going to? Instead of you to say, I am going to the market, you say, why are you asking? And most of the time, it's because we have this perspective of not being accountable. And I've shared it on different platforms. When you say someone is accountable, it doesn't necessarily mean that the person is above you, is older than you, it's a wrong African mentality concept. Accountable means to the ability you have, you are giving account to the ability you have. And everyone, I had a session with Roke Posh, and she was able to give us step by step account of what, as an individual or as an entity called a school, was able to do. And some people would just be pissed off and saying, probably this person is proud. It's not about being proud. It's an alien culture to so many people that
Mhm.
you listen. Your template is not. There's nothing really so fantastic about anybody's template. To be honest, yes, it can be experiential, but nothing too fantastic. Why did I say that? Because if we face the reality, everyone will not say, well, if there's a cure to the coronavirus today, you will not say that, well, my cure must come in a green box or carton. Mine, I want it in lilac color. A cure is a cure. When we are sick, we go to the hospital. We get the doctor, we don't ask him, Was your university a private university? Was a university with white men? What you need is healing, and what you need is health. Now, for a sector like education, and a lot of us need to realize, we say it in the other context. We say, well, if we don't take care of our poor people, very soon the rich people will not have anywhere to go to because of the poor people, right? I'm sure you've heard that before, Rhoda.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now let's put it in context, just like the statement you started with. Do you know that if a lot of individuals don't come out as a body in the education sphere and say, look, this is the possible way that schools can maneuver, this is the possible way industries can maneuver it. If we don't say this, the best that go far will become target point, because all of a sudden it will become unfair. All of a sudden, the issue of harmonization of calendar will come in. Well, some people are still waiting for directives when some people went ahead. Is it because of economic differences? And then everybody will come back to say school is not meant to be as a situation of economic advantage. School should be governed together. So, like you said, if there's a reset on our education calendar, those who've deployed resources, payment has been made by parents, payment has been made to staff. Some subscriptions do not have sentiment. It's as you use, it's as you go. If you subscribe for April, you subscribe for April. If you don't use it all through, well, nobody's to be blamed. So what happens at the end of the day if you now find out that out of, say, for example, 18,900 private schools in Lagos, you have maybe pocket of 300, 500 schools are so boasting. Sometimes, and which is why we are asking, okay, why are you resuming? Why are you resuming? What's your readiness state? And your readiness state does not mean you should give us your signature or your secret potent. You have your secret potion, that makes you a school that nobody must know, or else you will not have students again. But you need to publish to a large extent when you are asked, to some level, when you are sharing, to say that, look, we belong to the sector, we belong to the same industry. This is why we are resuming. We are confident in this. We have staff readiness, we have workplace readiness, we have content readiness, we have applied the context, we've spoken to our parents, we've done audits, we've done a lot of things. And this is the reason we are coming on board. In fact, a lot of parent education needs to take place this hour, because a lot of people think the goal is just to press play on the button of routine. Do you understand? And so while we're saying that is we need to begin to ask questions. Resumption is not evolving around the classroom alone. Resumption evolves around a lot of things beyond the classroom, because resumption will evolve around the society, it will evolve around the regulators, it will evolve around the administrators, it will evolve around everything. And I
What
believe that,
what a
yeah.
quick one. Um, a couple of people have reached out to me privately that they're not able to join. I think because they're not your friends, your Facebook friends. If you make the live session public, you make it public. Is it possible for you to do that while you sleep?
Oh, sorry about that. Okay. Uh,
Not to break your thought, that was powerful. So while Rotimi is trying to figure that out, I have a couple of questions that I wanted to throw out at you. And anyone who has, I mean, I think there are a couple of you on with us right now. If you have a question that you want us to tackle, you definitely you want to throw out there that you want to put in our bank of questions. Please share them immediately. I see Ronke's comments. She says, Ronke Posh, powerful woman. She says, maybe we should start with the Ministry of Education. I haven't heard anything concrete yet. That is the kind of conversation we want to have here. That is the kind of question we want to ask. Because when you have a situation such as an emergency situation that we know we are in right now, you want to tell yourself the truth, you know that you would describe it as emergency situation, and so that we can begin to say, does the ministry, the Federal Ministry of Education, have a policy on emergency education? Does it have that emergency that is not essentially of terrorism, of displaced children, internally displaced children? Are we ready? What are the what is the framework behind that policy? What are the expected activities of the public and private sector? And all of those within that one. What are the specific things that we should be looking at? What data can we all use What palliatives can be offered. What palliatives can be offered? Now, educators are not asking for palliatives. You and I should be asking for that. We should be trying to figure out how the data providers, the internet providers, can be made to ensure that part of the CSR is on the in emergency situations like this are provided to schools so that the bulk is not passed on to parents and schools can determine both on the private, especially in the private sector, what they can do to support parents and where parents also can feel the bunch. Now, I'm sure a lot of you know that parents have lost their jobs. For those who haven't lost their jobs, they are losing their salaries. Their salaries are at 80% or for some people, 60%. Some people have been followed FURLOUGH. Some people have been followed, put on a temporary suspension, meaning that they're going to they're probably in some cases be provided stipends just to survive. And these are the people that you expect they will pay school fees. You already are spending money as a school owner or teacher, your efforts. There's not everything is cash. Well, almost everything can be translated into cash also. So think about it from that point of view. So question. A lot of schools need guidance. A lot of schools need guidance. Like have said to, I've shared often, the first thing that schools need to do, the same thing that schools need to do is to have to ask important questions so that they can know what this, from the stakeholder management point of view, what they should be doing. So
Rhoda.
for what I did was to ensure that I collected data because that was the only way I was able to understand, first of all, what sort of platforms that would offer my remote learning plan on, or would be part of my remote learning action plan. I have to collect that data because I couldn't make assumptions. I needed to know how many parents even had as much as a printer at home. And so if I'm seeing a 10% or I'm seeing an 8%, what does that tell me? That's a no-no. Guess what? It's even possible that by the time you drill your data down, you ask the right questions in your data collection or your survey, questions that even drill up to the point of saying, okay, how many hours do you have? How many hours do you have power? Or how many hours can you possibly have power? Do you know you might end up doing a weekend school? Because what if you have parents who can't be at home because there's another assumption for remote learning when school starts, there will be adult supervision. So there are many questions to ask there, right? So Rosimi, have you been able to do this so that we can continue? There's so many comments coming. We need to definitely make sure that we're reading out the comments and the questions from everyone here. Have you been able
Yeah,
to do this?
it's enabled on the screen, so I'm
Okay.
sure a lot of people can see now. And just to add to that, number one, the reason why you're not hearing anything from anybody, it's not necessary to take away from anybody that nobody's doing anything, but we've come to a point where we need to speak truthfully to ourselves. We need to recognize that success always leaves clues. So if you're trying to figure out the right thing to do, or the right way to do things, or the best way to do things, is just to sometimes look at the people who figured it out. And a lot of times we are not always practicing the disposition of being humble. Sometimes we might be humble, but the disposition in terms of body language does not show that we are. And if at all anyone looks at it, it's not, I was talking with Ronke Posh, and she was saying that a lot of people have sent her emails asking questions, and I was excited. But you see, some people will never, the basis of their existence is competition. And competition in not in results is just competition in a bid to be able to mark that this is my rival, this is how much I'm doing. If not possible, they wouldn't mind to say, I wish others do not come out of this era as an entity. And the truth about it is, even if you get teaching right, even if you get e-learning right, if we don't fix the strategy for the system and the sphere, it will come knocking at our doors very soon. Before you know it, before now, you could talk about government approved, but very soon you'll be seeing that the powers of government approved would look, because at the end of the day, you cannot even regulate what's online. So these are many more. are things that we need to look at from all sides. We can't afford to have blind spots. Number three, we have a culture where we do not like asking questions because questions are considered interruption, questions are considered disrespectful. So it's almost difficult if we did not have a hard talk to talk hard. If it's something we need to say, it's all hush, 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 hush. You're talking too sensitive matters. But the truth about it is that we need to talk. There's no point ranting and venting in silence. We need to talk. Why are we resuming? What is the template? What exactly what exactly has anybody been given a green light? Is there any helpline? Is it made possible? Yes, you might say that, well, the government concern is public school, but the truth about it is this: we are all having public education, plus the private schools themselves. They are all still delivering public education. We don't really, really, really operate on private school. When I say private school, I'm talking about private education. Private education is not prevalent in education in our country. That is the absolute truth. Anybody can fight me with it, anybody can contest it, but this is a hard fact. We are operating public education with public schools owned by government and private schools owned by individuals. But everything is still public education. It's not necessarily private education. And that's why you find out at the end of the day, a lot of people are doing different things in their climb and everybody seemed to be quiet. Why? All of a sudden, our template does not recognize the current situation. Why? Because everything has always been copy and paste. We throw money at almost everything. But now it's time to throw reasoning at this season. We have a very good opportunity to reset education as a system. But you see what? The people will think it, they are not necessarily seeing it that way. Why? Because it's a matter of how ready are we to evolve? How ready are we as individuals to evolve? So a lot of people just believe that, well, our goal is to manage status quo. The problems are so many. Sometimes we've come to be so stuck in our ways where we are masters of the rot and we cannot even stand up to say, you know what, let's just create a point of inflection. Let's just switch things. And that it's very possible to switch things. That's the honest truth. It is very possible to switch things. But you see, everybody's acting powerless. And sometimes when you say some of this, someone say, you're not there. It's easy to say, I don't want to be there. I just want things fixed. And that's the reason we are trying to say being there is not the problem. It is fixing things that's the problem. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Are you there?
Yeah, yeah. Rotimi, so perfect. Fixing things, you know, is the issue now. So, I want to be able to read. I want to make sure that we're engaged with everybody and reading their comments and ensuring that we're carrying everyone along. So, great segue into this reading some comments here. We have Ronke for still sharing a ton of ideas. She has she has implemented a strong um, plan, and that's because from her example, what she did was to ensure that she pilot tested the programs that she was going to be implementing. Some of the pilot testing is what has led to this plan. So my question or our main question, which we titled it, "Why are you resuming school?" is to ask you, have you pilot tested? Should this be the week for pilot testing? Should have you asked parents those important questions? And those like and that is us even trying to drill down to you who is here, because you who is here with us, we don't have, hopefully after this session we're going to be able to download it and throw it out on YouTube for the world to see, which is why we want to make it the hard talk for as many policy and stakeholders who will post this live session. But the truth is that even for those who are with us, the things that you are planning, how well have they gone for you to be able to begin? For example, there are a lot of parents, like I mentioned before, a lot of parents' hands are tied right now. In what ways are you ensuring that you're going to be able to provide for them? So, what we're saying here, and for those who cannot stay home, that is parents, they should tell the plans are in the they should tell the plans are in the short to medium medium term. Now, this is what you can do when you are asking your parents. You're not asking them from a place of, you know what, we know what we're doing. You are asking from a place of, I want to do this. I want to be able to do it. So you can't really hear me. I can see that. Who's saying they can't hear me? Sheon, you can't hear me. Apologies about that. Okay, let me see if I can move my. I think I'm blocking my
Yeah,
speaker.
it's better now. Your audio is better now.
My audio is better now. Okay, I think I know what was happening. I was blocking my speaker. So, right. I apologies for that. Okay, so me, I might just have to hold the thing. Okay, right. So, Ronke is saying, so the only way you can be able, the only way you are able to do what Ronke Posh has done is because when you're pilot testing, you're going to make sure that, parents are aware that you are trying to figure out the best way to fit all of their all of their situation. So there's a situation analysis that should have been done, and you can only know that if you have asked the right questions. And surveying is the one tool for asking. Some parents, will not fill your Google form. They will only do with phone calls. So for some, the Google form will be there. That's why when Rebecca Plus mentioned earlier in the previous at investigate, when you have to be willing to be flexible. So when there is the Google form, there must be a call attached to it, and etc. and so many things. Have you done that? Do you know how many of your parents are capable of being participating in them? Which is why this is a stakeholder partnership strategy, whereby the entire value chain of education services or the provision of education in itself has to come together to ask this question, to be willing to say, I don't have the money to pay for school fees right now. I don't have the monetary devices for all the I don't have the right to be able to say I will be around. But this is what I can do.
Hello, brother. Your audio seems to be off.
My audio. I will try my best to find something where I can put it. I can hear all of you very well. Okay, Rotimi, take it over. I
Okay,
think that
do we have questions already? I really want contributions more than questions, because I think we've we've tried a little bit on just starting this conceptual conversation, because hard talk it is, and we need to talk hard. So you can wonder why it looks like we're vibrating from our desk, and we're trying to say, because this is not a posh kind of approach. We really need to know, the fact is this: we are failing the kids, we are failing the children. And if they are going to go to check the history books, is it what happened in Germany? Is it what happened in UK? Is it what happened in US that will be the reference point? What happened to schools in Nigeria? And everybody will be talking about, well, we checked social media, we noticed some schools were using Zoom. You see, the things that we celebrate are the things we should cover our face in shame with, because it seems like everybody is so capitalist in nature that the moment we can conceal or get access or mastery of a tool, and we are fine. But we are not totally fine, because the culture that we are creating will come to fight us at the end of the day. Why is it not possible that we are looking at this opportunity that even Nigeria can be the model of education across the world? But you see, we are so confident and comfortable with what we want, what we do, and the whispers that we lean to, that we don't think that there's any reason to say, you know what, guess what, guys? Can flip the curve. We can change things, you know. And let me tell you this: I've always heard people say you cannot give what you don't have. And the truth about it is that it's a perfect scenario that is playing right now. Most of us are not necessarily giving. Why? Because we don't have it in us. We don't have it in our DNA. We don't have it in our system. We don't have it in our wiring. We don't have it in our build up. we don't have it in in our context. And so that's what's happening right now, that we're not even able to run from pillar to post, as it were. We're just finding the realities are something that is a bit off, as it were. And listen, guys, one of the best things that can happen to us is if we decide to use this period to champion and shape conversations that will flip everything and turn everything to our own kind of way, and we begin to align and leverage eventually to what you call it, to the tools available. Because right now, there's so many things I'm looking towards, and I'm not seeing strategy out there. I'm not seeing strategy out there. And strategy must always come before speed. Every time you look at implementation and execution dynamics, strategy always precedes speed, because everybody jumping somewhere, rushing somewhere, pumping somewhere, adopting somewhere is an evidence of speed. But you see, there is a danger when you have speed before strategy. You can ask anyone who's into business development. You can ask anyone who's a consultant. You can ask anyone who really knows what he does and knows what he does well. Sometimes you need to recognize that speed in itself is much a better enabler when it rides on strategy. I like to recognize the tech savvy teacher, Ifi Obidi, and Temiti. How are you? Great to have you here. Labi Safulabi, to join us. Michelle Raymond, awesome. Great to see you. Great to have you here. Um, Rhoda, are you there?
Yes, I think my video is taking some time to come in. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. All right. So, I mean, there's so many comments coming in that I really want to share. And Ronke is doing us a very, I mean, Ronke is, we need to have Ronke right here with us on Hardtalk because she's sharing so many things. I hope my audio is better now. Hopefully, the camera
It's
should come on. Ronke is saying that even so, very important points to the question, why are you resuming school? Ronke Post mentions the mental health of parents and even kids. And I'll add kids here. Why? We know that there are a lot of kids in abusive homes. There
mm,
are that. And then we are saying school is going to resume. There's some things that we are not able to be able to completely, be able to 100% take care of. These are important questions. I think important comments from Ronke says even general meetings must be held carefully. Right. Because many parents are not in their right mental or emotional state. Empathy. So policies that are built around empathy. So have you created policies? Yay, I see myself right now. What sort of policies? Because now you have to have, I'm sure Rotimi will have a better word for this than I will do. But I want to call it crash policy. What's your policy on emergency situations, emergency education? You don't have it. We don't have it. We didn't know that there was going to ever be anything like coronavirus. Who would have guessed? In the beginning, people were saying all kinds of things. Oh, don't wear mask. Oh, now wear mask. Oh, it's in the air. Oh, it stays on surfaces for 2 hours. And it stays on surfaces for 2 days. Too many new things, right? But then we now have to say, what are we doing? How are we going to support them? How are you resuming school to ensure that you're supporting your clientele? But more importantly, I think for Rotimi and I, is what questions are we asking the country? What are we asking the country? From a national perspective, from a state perspective. Have you heard? Are we writing together to the local government? What are we saying? What are we asking them? How are we going to solve our own problems? Internally, schools are pulling their heads together, doing so well in trying to make sure that they try to, you know, what's the word now? To feed their clientele what they desire, what they need. But the clientele is telling you that's not what I need. This is what I need. And then you are ready to deliver. Believe me, like Rotimi said, we will collectively be doing the children that we serve a disservice. And if you truly want to be worried about what education is, who are our last line? What's our last line? I don't know if I should use the word last line. Who are we looking are our real clients, the children.
So, and I said it, I said, what we're doing is boldly, if there's no one, I wish Barrister Taiwo was online. It's this disposition that we are all having. And I say we all, meaning that I don't want to excuse myself, and I'm not totally saying everybody. So, but the point is, we have to create collective in our conversation. The point I'm trying to make is, number one, we are failing the kids, and we have every chance and every opportunity to pause this trend and probably prevent the word we have failed the kids. Because see, you need to have answers, and answers are based on many scenarios that we are painting. I'm so excited. Ife is online, tech savvy trainer. We have look at what Ronke. Imagine the resource Ronke is. We have so many people, and I remember Ms. Ogunde was sharing with me something recently, and that's a wonderful, fantastic individual as well. We need to be able to understand that this thing that we are at must first hit. Listen, we need to hit our culture in such a way whereby we move away from this beggarly attitude. The beggarly attitude is we wait for things to be given. And there's nothing, listen, there's nothing called right or wrong. The worst is a wrong disposition, not even trying to get to the point where we want to push ourselves and say, you know what, let's get involved in these things, guys. Let's try and shape things, guys. Let's try, because our calendar, permit me to say this, from a development perspective, our calendar does not mean much. Are you listening, Rhoda?
Yes,
Our calendar does not mean much. Let me help you understand. When you talk about dates, it's dates that make up a calendar, meaning that the reasoning and the thinking behind the dates is what now makes you say a calendar. So as a speaker, for example, and a consultant, I do a lot of things. Now, what makes my calendar is the things that I've plugged my dates into, either speaking engagement, strategy session, trainings, consulting, coaching calls, and the likes. Now, all those things, right, is what makes me say, oh, this is my calendar, right? A combination of my own kind of reasoning. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? So what it simply means is this, that if we look at it, the education calendar takes precedence based behind the reasoning, behind the thinking of education in itself. Are you following what I'm trying to say? So what
yes,
is simply, yeah, so imagine if this was election year, or imagine if next year was an election year. I bet you will see the level of innovation towards
exactly.
addressing the issue of coronavirus. You will see the demonstration. You will see strategy coming to life. You will see it. Maybe you will be shocked that people probably will not give bags of rice. They will give caps of rice, because in a
Mm,
cap you probably see the emblem of a political party. Do you get what I'm trying to say? People probably will not even have need to. You will see all sorts, pure water sachet and everything. Now let's bring that. I said success leaves clues. The way we address political times, and we address it when it comes to trying to reshape, rework, rejig what we call education. And like I always tell people, education is not just about schools, guys. Education is a bigger conceptual framework that schools will need to rest upon. And so everybody needs to be talking about it. Everybody needs to be talking about it. So when we say, why are we resuming? Is it because we've gotten a go ahead? Is it because there's no more coronavirus? Is it because we have internet? What if? What if? What if? What if main one shuts down? Main one is more or less one of our major resource to internet. What if it shuts down? What happens? What if? What if? What if? You see, there's so many things that we need to look at in the reality that people are not even going to think for us. Like you said, are we also thinking to enable ourselves? So, yes, you figured some things out, but there are some burdens you might not even need to bear if you're able to ask questions and now portray that as your own agenda to say, you know what, is it possible that for those now, I don't know if you've been asked, but I have had a lot over the weekend on the issue of school fees. I don't know if you've ever been asked that
most
question.
definitely. Yes.
Now, a lot of people are questioning themselves, to what should I charge? How should I charge? Am I separating my online school from my regular school framework just because we don't know the realities of the timing of resumption? All those dynamics are things that being thrown at us, right? So what we need to understand is this: in building a sequence to our thoughts and in building a sequence to the things that we need to do, um, is it not possible that we listen to what happens to other crimes and use it as a clue, not copy and paste? Use it as a clue to say, it will not even happen. Even if you were to copy and paste, it will not happen if you do not raise this discourse level. If you do not make it look like, oh, it's a shame we've not been talking, now everybody begins to talk. You understand? It's a shame we've not been liaising. How many people have been badly hit, and let's assess the level of how they've been affected. It's a shame. It's a shame. It's a shame. So if we're able to do that, who knows? Maybe those who are afraid that parents might not pay and all that. What if the government says, okay, you know what? If you do not, if your child does not participate in a third term experience or third term semester, then when things normalize in a new session, your child will have to repeat the class. That's a way of creating a safety net for for the schools. Do you get my point? Then we look at for the public space. You see, I don't want us to start postulating, because of course the first thing people like to do is to tear things apart instead of thinking things apart. See, when you think apart, your reasoning is that I am trying to figure out things so that things can work, right? But when we tear things apart, we're not trying to figure things out. We're just trying to critique things just because it's been said. And that in itself is not creativity. That in itself, my ability to be able to dissect and say, oh, listen to Rhoda, she's not sounding so intelligent. She made this statement. What about this? Look at Rotimi Eyitayo, he made this statement. What about that? Well, you might be master and critic of a lot of people raising valid questions. But the question I'm trying to say is, in your mastery of criticism, have you created anything? Have you solved anything? You understand? Have you been able to? Why is it that we have become so toxic that nobody's asking questions, and questions not so that you can put your name behind it to say it was my foundation, it was my findings that made this happen. This is really what we're trying to say. But if you're going to resume, you must have answered at least 3 to 4 questions. Number one, you must have answered the thing about being ready. Because if you're saying, oh, why are you resuming tomorrow? Why are you resuming next week? Why are you resuming? I'll tell you the reason I'm resuming. The reason is because I'm ready.
Yep.
And when I'm ready, I is not the owner. I is we. I'm ready means the parents are ready, the students are ready, the teachers or the workforce is ready, and the school is ready. Operations is ready. The framework is ready. And then the regulators are ready. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
That's
The
right.
same thing. If you're going to look at it, you also must recognize that if you say, why are we resuming? Because we've now fixed our routine. Routine has changed. It's no longer the way it is. Is it going to be everybody that will start their sessions based on distant learning, remote learning, or e-learning, or whatever technological nomenclature we're using? Is the routine going to be evening based? Because we also need to realize our social reality can never be outside the conversation. A lot of people would know, people who use internet based on service provider, based on location, they will know that sometimes internet is not necessarily as fast as it should be at certain hours of the day. And so for those of you that are trying to do certain things using certain network, you must factor that social reality. You must factor a lot of things. So what happens on the island might not happen on the mainland. Some people have dedicated access to power supply. Some people would not start their day until 10 because their sleeping pattern has changed, their priorities has changed, nobody's rushing anywhere. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? So it means we must understand that we are ready. For us to resume, we must also understand that we are fixed routine. And then, of course, for those who are resuming, they must be able to answer, not just because of technology, because most of them did not put Zoom into place. Zoom was created without them. Zoom was not created only for them. Google Classroom existed before COVID-19. So a lot of times people have not done anything and they're just shouting just because they're able to design an e-flyer and to say that, oh, guys, we're in business. It's not so. People like, I don't want to keep using names, but we have to say it is hard talk. It's hard talk. Someone like Ronke Pops, right? If we know about other people, please let us know. We'll talk about them. She said she's done customized things. She's done things to make sure there's experience. She's done recordings and she's so tired. That is an evidence that people are doing stuff. But you see, a lot of us, we don't want to do stuff, and we are always at the exploit level. And exploiters will never explore. Exploiters will never be on the food chain of exploration. They will wait for those who have explored and they want to exploit. And somebody say, well, that's business sense. That is not business sense. That is not business sense. No matter what you want to say, I know about business, I've run businesses and I still run business. That's not necessarily business sense. Because if you are doing that, that's just trade. That's just trade. That's not entrepreneurship. You're not adding value. You just look at what's happening if you plug in into a middleman gap. That's not totally what it should be, especially when it comes to a learning sector, an education sector. So I like us to understand, one by one, we must be ready for us to resume. Our routine must be fixed if we're going to resume. And then, of course, the resources must be there. Human resource, technological resource, timing resource, mood resource, so many resources must be available. So, for example, how many schools, a lot of schools can boast that they have YouTube and everything, and they have apps. How many of them have standby counselors, like you guys mentioned just now, mental health? How many of them have therapists on the standby? Because, for example, children are not physically moving everywhere. They're stuck in the home. Now you're suppressing them more with education content. And, it can cause a lot of things we don't know. We don't know. So how many people have come up with associate consultants to be on standby? Should there be anything for them to respond in the area of crisis? But they're not doing that. These are many more. Even HR, there's need for a lot of people to reach out to HR consultants or people with HR skills. Why? Because if they do that, these people can help them to understand that in this season, Rhoda, are you listening?
Yeah.
In this season, we might need to explore per hour kind of work, because we have to justify, because they can't do 30 days make a pay. So in some cases, sometimes you might use the hourly rate, hourly rating to remunerate staff. So if your staff is now being paid per hour, maybe they work for 4 hours in a day as opposed to regular 8 hours or 9 hours, then you might be fair. You understand? Is it just, oh, I'll slash salary into a, what made you decide that? How did you arrive at that? In some cases, it might not be even convenient, it might not be justified, it might be lesser than they should earn. But how do you make things? This is why we should be thinking. We should be talking about everything. So many blind spots exist. I think this is the best place to put it there. We must be ready if we're going to resume. We must show readiness. We must understand there must be proof in our routine. And obviously, our resources must be complete. That's what I feel. If anyone is going to resume, or if anybody's boasting of resumption, it shouldn't be because it just fell into the timeline for fee collection.
Exactly. Exactly. Great, great, great. It shouldn't just be that it fell into a timeline for fee collection. Thank you so much for that thought. I think that it will also be good for us to even just kind of like begin to end this session with specific things that you need to do. One, you need to have a look. This is not, how will I put it? This is not us talking that there is a lot of things that we may not be able to do quickly, right? But speed is required. Strategy, two things, strategy and speed is required for you to begin school. Another thing that is required, and strategy is what we need to talk about and delve into. Strategy from the point of policy. What policies are you quickly creating? Because you got to create like emergency policy or crash policy, whatever you choose to call it, so that from henceforth, because if you're following the times and the news, there is a pandemic to come. Now, I'm not even trying to spread bad news. I'm not a bad news. I'm not trying to say that I don't want. I'm throwing it away. No, look, hard talk is apolitical, a religious, a tribal, right? Right. So let's put it out in the open. Facts-based information sharing. Should there be another pandemic, how would you address it? So we're not even this. Are you ready in terms of your strategy and what speed are you applying with that? That is now speaking from the point of view of parents.
where you have to solve your problem immediately. For those of you who are school owners and administrators and teachers, you got to quickly solve the problem and see that you're doing that. But with that, speed must precede, before speed must come your strategy. And just what strategy we will be talking, you need to be discussing. How am I doing this? How am I getting myself ready for my people? Is it from a policy perspective and sharing that, from a survey perspective, from a piloting perspective? You need to follow through the stages. So there is a remote learning action plan for you. Now, for those of you who would love to see remote learning action plans, we can always share that. That's not the problem. That can be shared with you, and you can use that and flesh it out as your own framework and flesh out and answer the right questions in that lesson, in that action plan. I can share. We will share something with you if you want to, right? If you like to have access to, that's not a problem. Is that action plan is basically what will be shared with you, something that's asking important questions for you to answer, because I can answer all your questions because your context is different from mine, right? So it's a plan that asks you questions that you will answer, and then helps you to derive what solutions you're going to use, right? So definitely that is what you should do. So what I'm even hoping that we all take out of it, of this session today, is that we have to begin to task and ask questions. Look, I'm thinking here, what the hell is happening with TRC, right? This organization, we haven't heard anything from them. At some point, I'm asking myself, aren't they supposed to be for both public and private schools? Don't we is it not a licensing institution that ensures that private and public school teachers are equipped or are qualified to be in our classrooms? Where are they? Isn't it the time for TRCN to decide between themselves and all the other institutions that can support them, whether from tech, from HR, and all the other stakeholders, to support teachers in the country? So important questions. Look, you're left alone. Educators, you need to know this. You have been left alone to upskill yourself. There are many assumptions being made for you that you can do. We have all been talking about parents, from the parents and the child's perspective. What about teachers? What about teachers? There's so many assumptions we're making for them, that they're going to be able to do what we're asking them to do. We're putting them on the spot. Well, can't you just write a lesson plan on WhatsApp as if you're writing a WhatsApp message? Guys, look, digital education takes much more time. Ask the Ify Obidis of this world. They will tell you it's a ton of content creation that you don't have to do. You're not going to do with pen that you're used to doing, writing on paper. Because a lot of us, I make assumption, those of us who have worked with high-end schools, making assumptions because you have some computer come to you. You have, look, there's so many schools, so many teachers that can't afford this, right? And so we're asking so many questions. For some of us, we will have to do weekend school. Look, the truth is that when you drill down your survey, which is where you should start from this week, start asking questions. Do a survey first. Your goal is not to be resuming school. I'm not saying you shouldn't. Like, if you've done everything you feel you can and you feel like you're ready, go ahead. But if you're certain you're not ready, please don't do a disservice to your parents, to your clients, and to these honest,
Yeah,
innocent children who should be learning so much
yeah,
from by providing to some and not all. Because I think that we're in the business of providing for all. And that's okay from teacher perspective. What about children with special needs? Do you have a remote learning action plan for them? Are your questions also targeting them? Children with mobility issues, children with learning disabilities, that of learning, that of mobility, that of neurodiversity. There's so many, and they're there in that and in this space. And you're supposed to also think about them because they're in your community, right? Aren't you for all? Are you for some? So that's the thing. So many questions, many questions. So what I would say to you, I'm sharing from my own perspective, ask the right questions, do your survey and pilot test. Maybe you're not ready. Maybe, just maybe. There are versions for remote learning or online learning, whatever you're doing. There's synchronous and asynchronous activities. That is one that the children will be with you online at live, and there's the one that you provide activities for them online that they will do offline, right? So, and what are your thoughts regarding those? What are thoughts regarding? What do you think would be better for your teachers and your learners, right? What do you think is the bandwidth speed of your children? Because you see, my son who is 14-year-old, and he in his and he was doing a quiz, and guess what? Right before he will finish the quiz, bandwidth had gone. And then what did he do? What happened? It was a photo. What happened? The thing went off, and then well, he was graded. Of course, we quickly ran to the teacher and asked, is this going to be his grade upon internet issues? And the teacher was, of course, applying a lot of social emotional learning, using using empathy, and self awareness, and everything. She says, "No, I'm not going to grade this time." So you that are ready for going back to school, are you assuming that your assessment strategy is solid? What sort of strategy are you looking at? There's so many things we can share. Otherwise, we can stay on this and we can start sharing solution. But today is not for solution. Today is for telling us our issues. What are the issues? Today is also we will delve into solutions, right? But sometimes you like I think Rotimi will have a better way of spinning this. Sometimes or sometimes or in most cases, before you find solutions, you must know your problem. And a lot of times we make assumptions about the problems. And so knowing your problems is asking the right questions.
Yeah,
Rotimi.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's a very good way to bring this to a close. We want everyone to understand this is a wake up call to those who know, to those who think they know, to those who actually can stand up, decide to know. Everyone has a role to play. We don't know it all, and there are fantastic people who probably have been disgusted by the way we've been practicing things, and they're just fed up. And this is a time for us not to save ourselves just alone, but to save the sector. And when we say save, it's not a cliche of advocacy. It's actually something that is practical. The world is watching, and it's like there's absolutely no searchlight beaming on our nation, beaming on our sector. And education, let's not forget, is still part of the economy of the nation. And we need to understand that we must not fail these kids. And the way we will fail these kids is just we that we know or have an inclination of knowing something are sitting down and we are doing nothing. We're not saying, oh, fix oil, fix manufacturing, fix your sector, rise up and do it. How do you do, you might ask? Break it into pieces, mold it back again. Break it into pieces, mold it back again. We've said so much today. We'll be looking forward towards opportunities where we can actually galvanize our conversation and come up with things for those who don't have a voice, who are yet to find a voice, or who don't know how to create a messaging behind the things they know they need to do or they need to have. And if we do that, we will sometimes be shocked that we might come up with something so novel that we will become a prototype where people begin to learn from us. I recall there was a time um, um, when it came to card reader. A lot of countries came to learn from Nigeria in Africa. When it came to card reader, that was political time. I remember Ebola, because of our approach to handling and managing Ebola, a lot of people also studied our model. Why can't it happen in education? Right? Why is it impossible that education can move away from those who have been tied down and locked down to become essentialist, where everybody who is an educator who wants shared resources can get to a point where you say, you know what, some educators are allowed as essential workers, and not necessarily that the school come and the children come to school, but to make it easier for the school coming to the children. We've said a lot. Thank you, Rhoda, for the time. I want to thank
Thank
Roke
you.
Port. Thank you, Ade Fakoy. I think I noticed she was online.
Ronke Fire.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Ronke. It's one of please everybody go and read Ronke's comments. A lot she shared there. And think again, we're not saying that we are the solution. We're saying we are the questioners. We have to ask the right questions. We have to ask the right questions. We have to keep talking and proving and checking and making sure that we're putting ourselves on our toes. Right? We can't be standing on our feet. There's nothing to stand on. People, there is no template to stand on yet. So we got to be on our toes and we got to ask the right questions and let us collectively create our questions and go for it. Go for it. So from here, the hard talk, we want to talk and keep talking. Look, it is only when we talk that people can hear our voices, right? So the cacophony of voices is important in spreading what we want. I don't see the reason why the MTNs of this world, let's call them out, the Zoom, the all the telecommunications that we require data from them. Where is their solution for education? Where is their relief package for education? Where is it for educators?
They
For
need to understand themselves what education is, so that if they're giving relief package, it's not superficial. It
yes,
actually goes.
and we want to task the government who who has them as one of the sectors in this country to work with them and provide for the people. So many advantages. There's radio, there's TV. There will be lights. There will be lights for you to listen to radio. There will be lights to watch TV. So what is the power sector doing in terms of emergency? So many things. Look, our sector is not separate from any other sector in Nigeria. We are all going to go through the same thing. We're suffering the same thing. And that's why the issues of politics should not be alien to you and I, because they affect what we do, they affect how we live, they affect how we eat. And that's exactly the way we want to see it and want to address classroom processes, classroom procedures, classroom administration, school administration from that point of view.
Any other comments? Rhoda, any other comments?
Yeah, Ronke still there. Yeah, there'll be lights, charge your gadgets. Okay, comments. Yes, it's just still Ronke sharing a lot with us. But Ronke has to get on hard talk. Like we want to hear her hard talk. Ronke, you are coming on hard talk. We want to hear you. You have to be on here. Like it's not. We love your comments, and we know that it is people like you that's going to hold our hands. And even if it's this platform we have, that we can decide to share on YouTube, and we task educators, all of the educators and every group that we are all in, to share it on their
Absolutely.
pages, in their
Yep.
we would put it on the YouTube, and even if it's just this, we start with this and we use it as our voice. We are not shy. We use it as our voice. We record to download this video and we will put it on YouTube, and we will task educators to share
Did
it.
Ronke say she's shy?
She's okay, we know she's not shy. We will put it and we will share it with them. This is our call. This is what we are asking. We have questions. Where are the answers? Who is looking for? Who is supporting education? How are you supporting education? That's what we want. We want to know. We have this remote learning action plan. We have this emergency education action plan. Does this align with your policy, Ministry of Federal Ministry of Education? Does it align with what the plan for TRSCN, what TRSCN has in plan? What sectors are coming together to support education and educators in this work? Look, we know how, yes, we know that there are public schools, but we at the same time, I don't have my exact data. We have about 18,000 public schools, but we even have a lot more private schools. I'm going to get those data points. I don't want to just quote the wrong things. But there's so many children that are going to go back to school tomorrow, guys, even with coronavirus. I just lost a friend's brother to coronavirus. They're going to go to school physically in other words, the Karakara schools. They are going to school in those small communities. Believe me. And that's why social distancing is an alien concept to Africa, isn't it? It's controversial to say, but that's not who we are. We are communal people. And then, of course, we are what's it called, daily subsistence people. I hope I'm speaking the correct English here. So, how do we do it? All right, this we've gone way past time. Rotimi, if you have anything else, this is all from me. Bye bye, everyone. Thank you for all of you who tuned
Yeah.
in. You will see this on YouTube. Rotimi is going to put them on his YouTube page. I'll share the links, and we want you all to get on there, share it everywhere, share it in your chat groups, share it in your WhatsApp group, share it in your any stakeholder group you have. Share. Get the voice. And as many of you would like to come on Hard Talk to talk about hard things, without feeling scared, without feeling like you're bothered, without feeling like you're you're being forced to, as many of you who have a desire to ask important questions and to say the hard things that people don't want to hear. Hard talk education is open to you. This is not about Rotimi and Rhoda. This is about everybody who is concerned about that child in their classroom and that child in their home, that child in their community. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, see you some other time soon. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lagos. Thank you, US. Thank you, Africa. Thank you, the world. All right.
Bye bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.